Okay, everybody, grab a seat, for I have an absolutely wild theory for Xenoblade Chronicles 4. Now, I have barely anything that could even remotely resemble concrete evidence, but the more I think about it, the more this theory makes sense to me, you feel me? I have made quite a few theories for Xenoblade these past few months, but none probably so out there as the one that I am making today. Now, I think this theory is probably not likely to come true because it goes against every established precedent Monolith have established for Xenoblade up to this point. But I've called my shot before, and I got nothing but net when I called Xenos' entire character arc for Final Fantasy XIV Endwalker months before it released. And that inflated my theory crafting ego to such a degree where I am willing to try and catch lightning in a bottle for a second time. So, here is my theory. I think Noah and Mio are returning as protagonists for Xenoblade Chronicles 4. Okay, look, bear with me, yes, I know how this sounds, but Jmulls, Xenoblade has never repeated protagonists. Jmulls, why the hell would they do that? Jmulls, that's freaking stupid. I get that, but I'm gonna need you to bear with me. Let's tackle each of those points one by one. First, it hasn't happened before. Well, yeah, look at the timeline. Xenoblade 1 and 2 happen in parallel to each other in different universes. It makes sense why the cast of characters would be completely different to one another. And heck, Shulk even makes an appearance in Xenoblade 2, and I'm not talking about the challenge mode dungeon that's non-canonical. Sure, it's only for the one line from the climax of Xenoblade 1, but it's still there. And the one full-blown numbered Xenoblade game that takes place after 1 and 2, we immediately have returning characters, with Nia and Melia playing prominent roles alongside Ouroboros in their quest to defeat Mobius. If we assume Xenoblade 4 is a follow-up to 3, then it would come after the timeline of Xenoblade 3. So, bringing older characters back is a distinct possibility, as they have done this before. Now, let's tackle the why. Why on the Bionis would they ever do this? Well, think about the story of Xenoblade 3. It's a story whose message is critically centered around the idea of being able to move on from the present, both the good and the bad, and being willing to walk into the future. And if you've been watching my channel for a while, you will probably be quick to remember that both Xenoblade 1 and 2 have tackled that idea before. Granted on a smaller scale, but they have tackled the idea and the theme before. Xenoblade 1's ending has a moment where Shulk becomes a god and is faced with a choice, becoming the ruling god of a new world or create a world without gods. Essentially, to create a world where he's the leader, he's the god, or a world filled with choice. One without choice, one with choice. For everybody. Shulk chooses the latter, and if you are wondering how this is relevant, remember Chapter 6 of Xenoblade 3 with Noah. He specifically mentions that one of his motivations from here on out is to create a world where people had the choice of which smile to have, and not just one out of contentment when they die. He wanted a world where people had the ability to choose their own future, to choose which smile to smile with. Xenoblade 2 had even more of a direct connection. Think back to the end of the game. You reach Elysium, go down the altar in the church, and Klaus immediately throws you into a dream world. And one of them, for Rex, is a peaceful life with Pyra and Mithra, secluded away in Corinne's house, back in Letheria. It's a quiet and peaceful life that deep down Rex wants. It's so good that even he almost falls for it for a minute, until the crushing guilt of the pure selfishness of this world gets to him, and he can't go on any longer. Questioning why everyone is acting so strange. He doesn't get it. He's emotionally overloading. It wouldn't feel right to him to essentially sacrifice everyone else by shirking his duty as the driver of the Aegis and run away from helping everyone when he knows he can make a difference. He sacrifices his momentary present happiness to march into the future and create his own Elysium, despite not knowing what the hell it would entail. Does that sound familiar? Because straight up, if you end that cutscene with the dream ending, that's very close to the idea of Xenoblade 3's ending, with everyone, especially Ouroboros, sacrificing their own present happiness with their counterparts from different worlds to allow Origin to activate and for the worlds to go their own way. It's a very, very, very Xenoblade-esque moral. But with Xenoblade 3, we just never got that ending bit. We never got the follow-up. that we got with 1 and 2. We never got the Beyond the Sky cutscene from 1 or the One Last You and Creation of the New World with Xenoblade 2. It just ends with Origin activating, Noah hearing the Agni and Off-Scene tune and just disappearing, peacing out. So to me, there is precedent for when Monolith tell this type of story. There's normally a follow-up afterwards, and after accepting the fact they have to move into the future. Now, let's talk about the final point. Jmulls, it's a stupid idea. Honestly, I get it. I do. And I'm not saying that the story needs it. I think Monolith's capabilities when it comes to writing a story are so high up there for me and resonate so strongly with me that they could write whatever and I'd probably like it. And I don't think the story of Xenoblade 3 or Xenoblade as a whole needs this theory to come true. It tells a perfectly good story by itself with an open-ended finale that you can kind of fill the blanks in with your own interpretation, since the main theme of the game was just moving into the future, and that was accomplished. You do it not just because you're guaranteed a happy ending, you aren't. And 3's ending effectively conveyed that, in my opinion. However, I think it's more a matter of execution and how they tell a follow-up that would determine its quote-unquote necessity than just a matter of it existing. Because when we think about it, is any story really necessary? For me, it's more a matter of how you execute upon this idea. How are you able to effectively convey the meaning, convey the message? What story are you trying to tell here? And I've been convinced for a while at this point that Xenoblade 4 will be a follow-up to 3 in some capacity or in some form. And I've made theory videos on that before, and hell, I've even theorized what the core gameplay elements could be for it. But the one thing that always just kind of was there for me, that I couldn't really put together adequately, or at least in a satisfactory way for me, in a way that would appease me, was the story of Noah and Mio. Do you recall the ending of 3? I'm sure you do. They could have just said it once. They could have just said that we would find each other again once, and just be on their merry way. And we'd all take it as them looking optimistically into the future, and maybe cry a little bit, if that's your prerogative, and move on from it. We would still get just as emotionally attached to 3's ending as we all were. But that's not what they did, was it? They almost beat you over the head with it. They repeatedly say over and over and over and over and over again, we will meet again, we will find each other again. Some way, somehow, we will meet again. Whether it be multiple times from when Origin was activating, or the Nia Ascension quest, or hell, even the final save screen before it kicked you back to the main menu, with Mio ending the game with saying we'll meet again. They say it so much that it stood out so significantly to me, where it honestly felt like foreshadowing more than anything. It just felt like foreshadowing. And I've said before, maybe Noah and Mio will fulfill the role that Nia and Melia did in Xenoblade 3 to Xenoblade 4's main party, where they serve as this supplementary role model-esque figure for them. And sure, that could work, and it's probably more likely than Noah and Mio returning as protagonists, but if the story of Xenoblade 4 is actually the story of Noah and Mio in their respective worlds, trying desperately to rejoin the worlds, trying to regain the memories of Xenoblade 3 and of Ionios, and rejoin the worlds, but in a way that would save them both this time, wouldn't that make a lot of sense for the way they phrased 3's ending? And I think the biggest offender for me personally is the post-credits scene in the final save screen. They actively choose to have the final line of the entire game be Mio saying, in her journal or diary, I won't forget you. Not until we can meet again. I swear it. That's the final line of the game. They chose to do that. That was a specific, conscious decision that they elected to do to end the game with those words. They could have put anything else there. Hell, they could have just left it off with Noah's post-credit scene. But they specifically chose to put that Mio journal screen there. That, to me, almost confirms to me that we're seeing Mio again at some point. That we're seeing Noah again at some point, at least. And if they come back as protagonists, it would make even more sense because of just how much emphasis they put on this. And again, it's not just that. Let's rewind to the post-credit scene. Where the hell does Noah go? Like, I brought this up before. No, but seriously, where the hell does he go? They could have literally just had him run off with his friends, and the story works even better if you aren't bringing Noah as a character back. They, again, specifically, consciously chose to have him hear the Agni and Off-Seeing tune. This wasn't an accident, and I don't believe for a second that it's metaphorical. I just don't buy it. Because then they specifically choose to have him literally disappear, not even behind someone or get lost in the crowd. The man just straight up instant transmissions his way out of there. Why? Why do you end the game like that? if you aren't going to continue the story of Noah in some form. And to me, if Noah and Mio are the protagonists, or at least one of them is the protagonist of Xenoblade 4, the ending we got makes infinitely more sense than if it was just never addressed. Because we have the precedent that when they tell this type of story with moving into the future, there's normally some kind of follow-up where we see the actual future. We barely got that with 3, which makes me think this is part 1 of a 2-part narrative at least, where they're just taking this small microcosm of an idea that was there in Xenoblade 1 and 2 and just fleshing it out and really diving deep into that emotional struggle, where it's not just that they've told this archetype of a story before, but the way they phrased and constructed 3's ending, to me, is the perfect segue into a follow-up, into a sequel. Now, there is a bit of a spanner in the works. It could be handled in the DLC. I don't think it will. And I'll say this solely because I don't think you can tell this type of story only within the confines of a story whose length is equal to that of Torna. I don't think you can. I think you have to do a numbered game. You have to have a full-blown Xenoblade numbered game for this. Because I still think it's more likely than not that the DLC will just be a Founder's prequel story. I think that's probably the most likely solution, or the most likely guess for the DLC, in which case, for me, Xenoblade 4, following Noah and Mio after the events of Origin, probably like 10 years down the line, that to me makes way more sense than just trying to cram that entire narrative into a sequel in the DLC. Maybe the DLC could be about re-establishing connection or re-establishing communication using light between the two worlds. Maybe that could be it. But I don't think Noah and Mio's story is over until we get their reunion. I don't think it is. Well, not that we get their reunion, but not until we rejoin the worlds. Because the important thing I have to predict here, I am not predicting a happy ending. It will probably be a quote-unquote Xenoblade-esque happy ending. I am just predicting that the stories of Noah and Mio are not done, and to me, the way they framed the ending of 3 makes it feel like they're gonna return as protagonists. That's my theory. Hope you all enjoyed it. If you did, please leave a like and subscribe. It really helps the channel out and helps support future content, and I greatly appreciate it. And if you want to be notified for future uploads, please hit the bell icon to be notified for when I upload in the future. Leave a comment down below with your ideas on this theory and your own personal ideas for where the story of Xenoblade will go from here. They can be your wildest ideas. You could not even believe them. Just let me know. I'd love to hear your thoughts and hear your opinions and hear your perspectives. Let me know. In the meantime, stay safe with everybody. Have a great day. Go play some video games, and I'll see you all next time. Bye-bye, everybody.